Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What's Poppin' Podcast. This particular episode is going to be kind of unique because we're going to be talking about a show that recently ended in its pretty much entirety. There's 7 seasons of The Clone Wars. My name is Tim. This is my buddy Jimmy.
I'm Jimmy.
Yep. And we're going to try and do our best not to take too much of your time, but we wanted to do a bit of a Star Wars retrospective, I guess you could call it. Going over our thoughts of the series as kind of a whole, all 7 seasons, and whether it's worth a watch, some of our highlights, some of the lowlights, and just in general our thoughts. And I know that you just pretty much ran through the whole thing for the first time, right?
So I was just telling Tim that I was waiting till it got closer to the end of season 7 to actually start watching it or binge watch it, and I made the mistake of waiting last minute to binge watch it. So yesterday, as of Monday the 11th, I binge watched the entire series of Clone Wars,
which is a lot.
And it was a long time. It was crazy. It was crazy, but there was a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I have different opinions about certain characters or just the series in general, especially the last season, which we will get into personally. But I am definitely caught up. The only thing that I have no knowledge with is Rebels. I haven't seen it yet. I would like to, since it is, technically canon. And, and also we have some news related stuff that some of those characters might be, turning up in some other Disney live action, Star Wars shows. So that gives me more encouragement to actually want to watch it.
Yep. And truth be told, Rebels is very much it's definitely part of the canon, but it's a spiritual successor to Clone Wars in the sense that Dave Filoni, who had worked very closely with George Lucas on Clone Wars, was then tasked to make a show like Clone Wars as best he could, set during the time of the start of the rebellion and everything, which is worth a watch in its own right. But yeah, today's focus is definitely going to be on Clone Wars and everything like that. And I kind of almost want to ask kind of straight away, did the art style really kind of throw you off when you first started watching it? Because I remember when I first saw the art style way back when they first did it in theaters, I completely was not a fan of the art style at the time. I thought it was really obnoxious.
That's a great question, actually, because you know what, I did hear about that before, that some people just couldn't get used to it or something. It
was
like that.
Very weird.
Yeah, but you know what it is that I've watched other animes or other like shows that kind of had the same art style to it, that I was already kind of accustomed to it. Like I wasn't like thrown off by it, so I was totally fine with it. As long as the storytelling and the writing is good, then I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not live action. That's one thing. Is that and I think at one point wasn't this decanonized at one point, and then it came back and it was canon again.
I believe where that misconception kind of happens is there was like I want to say it was like Samurai Jack art style Clone Wars show that were like super quick shorts. And that was made before this like CGI animation show was made.
Yeah, that was like 2003 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I remember
And basically that is what got technically kind of decanonized, which I guess it's now pseudo canon. I don't know how to really tell about it because they make a reference in season 7 to it, sort of, which is kind of interesting.
Either it's okay. I see what you're saying. Maybe it's just like a callback or something.
It could be
just to see.
But no, this is definitely canon, and I have to say, kind of right out the gate, a lot of people know this who are big fans of it, and like people who really shout out Clone Wars and its strengths and everything. It is a show that doesn't necessarily hit the ground running with quality. It's real rough out the gate, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But and also one other thing of note before we kind of get into it, Clone Wars, weirdly enough, was not made in like chronological order. They have on their Star Wars website like an actual list of the chronological episodes of how you could watch it so it all makes sense. Because like the first episode, I believe, is like season 2, episode 16 or something like that, which is really kind of out the window. So it kind of depends on how you watch it.
They went backwards on a lot of things. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a good thing to point out, by the way, because there's quite a lot of people. You'd be surprised. Quite a lot of people that actually have never actually dabbled into the series at all. Yeah. But yeah, which I definitely want to get into, whether in a little bit, to see if is it really worth binge watching it like I did, or should you just watch a maybe like a breakdown on YouTube? But we'll definitely get into that. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to
say up front. Not really. I will say that there are quite a few spoilers coming up ahead. So if you do care about them, you need to consider watching it. If you don't care about spoilers, then proceed. But I would say if you care about Star Wars enough that you think spoilers would affect you, give it a try, or at least watch a few highlight episodes that you can find online or whatever. But yeah, spoilers ahead. We're going to go ahead and pretty much jump into it. So first big spoiler I want to talk about when talking about this show is the decision that was made about, I think, 3 seasons or 4 seasons in to tap into Maul returning. How did you like that? Did you think that was something that was worth exploring or no?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I actually enjoyed that. Yeah. I thought it was kind of random that he had a brother. I felt like they could have done it a different way. Yeah. Where they could have had Ventress maybe go out and try and find him instead. Instead of just introducing or Ventress trying to find like an apprentice to trying to find the right apprentice, and just one random guy just happened to be Darth Maul's brother. Like it just didn't add up for me. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I call bullshit on that. So I think the writing fell off a little bit there. Okay. In my opinion. But I like the idea of him returning. For sure. I thought that was really, really cool. And the way they did it was neat too. The way he discovered him. He's like all fucking mutated, like spider form. Yeah. Which, by the way, I actually like the snake.
The creepy little snake dude. Yeah.
The little creepy little snake character. Yeah. I like his voice too. Yeah. I thought I kind of wish the character kind of maybe stuck around a little bit longer, but it was totally fine. I liked it.
He got roasted.
Yeah.
No, I really was surprised. I mean, there was a teaser where what's her name? Mother Talzin, I believe, was her name. She's like the queen of this witch tribe on a planet where Darth Maul came from, and Count Dooku's pseudo apprentice on and off again. I don't want to necessarily say she was an apprentice, but she kind of was. Or from, known as Dathomir, and she basically told this Savage guy, who is of the same race of Maul, except he's yellow, that you need to go find your brother. And it's this shot in like almost like a Disney's haunted house crystal orb kind of a thing of Maul's face. And I was crazy hyped for that back in the day. Yeah,
I was thinking, I was like, dude, I wonder what the reaction was back then for this, like that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh shit, hell yeah. I knew at some point, because the series has been out for a while, right? Oh yeah. And so has Rebels. So I knew that Darth Maul came back at some point. So that I already had that planted in my mind. You understand? Yeah. But for people that didn't have that planted, like, ooh, that would have been nuts, dude.
Yeah. It was wild, man. I still remember
because I even
freaking out because I was like, he got cut in half. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And it was just a really cool way of bringing him back.
Yeah, because it was actually really cool to even hear people's reactions when I went to watch the Solo movie. Oh yeah. At the end of that, they have Maul appear that. Yep. And it caught me by surprise, but I already knew that because I didn't expect them to show up in that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was okay.
That's what got me there. I wasn't surprised that he was back. I was just surprised the fact that why the hell is he doing in this movie? But
right, exactly.
Right, yeah. But but it was cool to see like hearing other people's reactions, like, whoa, what the
yeah,
you know, because but I just kind of smirked, smiling to myself when they showed the the little orb of like, hey, you have a brother or whatever, and then, it was Maul's face.
Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot with what they did with the character, which we can get to that here in a bit. But that was the first big one that I wanted to get your a taste bud of what you thought of, because that was gonna make or break whether or not you and I were aligned with Clone Wars' the idea of Maul, because he's a big part, pretty much from that point forward, with what Clone Wars has to offer.
Yes,
which, if you love it or hate it, I would say a majority of people love it. I don't know of anyone really particular who would hate the fact that Darth Maul's back, but we'll see. There could always be someone, and if that is you, please tell us in the comments below. But what do you think about the way the episodes are kind of structured, where it has like this announcer guy come on and he's like, back, like, welcome back, everybody. This is blah, blah, blah. It's like an old serial kind of like an intro of, meanwhile, on this planet.
Tom Kane is the voice
actor
for the narrator. Yeah, he did. I thought it was great. And plus, it got me excited. Not only that, he catches you up on what the heck is going on before you even start getting into watching the episode. You're like, okay, cool, all right. I liked it. Instead of trying to figure out, wait, what's gonna happen, what's going on here, or what are they up to? Because they kind of sometimes some of the episodes will start with them already fighting. And you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or they're in battle or whatever. But he brings you up to speed or whatever. And in a way, it's pretty much like the scrolling text. Instead of having a scrolling text every episode, it was just him pretty much catching you up of what's going on. As of right now,
I agree wholeheartedly, because I think if it was doing the scrolling text every time, that would really devalue whenever a big movie comes on. You have the scrolling text, because that always gets me hype. But if it was doing it every episode, I'd be very, very like, come on.
Exactly. So I think Tom Kane has. I liked his voice. It was really good. But yeah.
Speaking of the voices, man, I think pretty all around, with some exceptions here and there on some of the cheesier episodes.
Okay. Yeah. So I gotta say this.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Voice acting is pretty damn good. Even for some characters, like trying to do the voice of other actors, like Obi-Wan Kenobi's. I believe that's played by James Arnold Taylor, I think.
I can check real quick.
Yeah. He's trying to do a voice of
Ewan McGregor.
And he did a pretty good job, dude.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty good, The only one that does, it's a little weird to me, is Mace Windu's.
Okay. Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, Mace Windu's didn't really stick out to me because it's clearly like his character. That's Samuel Jackson. You know what I mean? So it's going to feel a little off.
There is
someone tries to do it.
An interesting note: the movie that first came out in 2008 has Samuel L. Jackson playing Mace, but that's the only time that he is playing Mace.
He did the voice,
yeah, but
right.
I agree.
By the way, I was very surprised to hear, Liam Neeson reprise.
Oh, that caught you off guard, did it?
His voice, as Qui-Gon, and we get to see Force Qui-Gon for the first time, and I was fucking hyped, dude, because I love Qui-Gon. I thought his character was really cool. It sucks that it went, he had to die, honestly. I kind of wish that we would have stuck out with them three throughout the entire, prequel series, but George wanted to go with whatever he felt like was best. But it was really, really cool to see Force Qui-Gon. Not only, navigate Obi-Wan, also Anakin, and also Yoda.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was just as wise as Yoda, dude. Like it was really fucking cool to see him, and it caught me off guard because I was like, wait, is that Liam?
Yeah, it was,
or is this some dude like actually doing his voice? Because this sounds pretty fucking good. It caught me really off guard. But it was really cool to see him introduced, especially in the episode that he gets introduced in.
Yeah, I believe it was the Was it the Mortis arc, or maybe it was one before that?
Yeah, no, it was that one.
It was the Mortis
one.
Which some people love that arc and some people don't. I thought it was cool. I thought it was kind of a fun.
Cool. I just wish the what's it, the Mortison, right? The villain, the son.
Oh, the son. Yeah. I think he's just called the son. There's the son, the daughter, and the father.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought his character was really cool looking. Kind of looked like Mortal Kombat-ish.
Yeah, he did.
Kind of had like a vibe to it. And I thought he was really fucking cool. I just wish that he would have probably maybe been a villain for like maybe a season. You know what I mean? Like continued or something. But they decided to go with something different, and I was totally fine with it. It didn't really bug me as much, honestly. I thought it was really cool that it like messed with a lot of the characters' minds. I like that arc. It was really cool.
Yeah, and I this isn't going to spoil anything to say that those characters aren't done in Star Wars canon yet, which you would see in other shows that Dave Filoni has worked on. That are kind of cool. But yeah, no, I thought that Clone Wars was fairly brave as a show and did what I think Star Wars should do, which is explore new things while still being somewhat familiar. And I think in a lot of different ways, the show did that with like, let's see, the Battle of Utapau. Was it Utapau or was it Umbara? I think that's what it was. It's like the neon dark planet, and you have General Krell, who's like this. What's the species of who they are that was at the diner in Attack of the Clones? Who's like, that's a Camino Dart. But he's like buff and a douchebag. Like, that was so cool.
They took some chances and it worked. A lot of the times it worked. But I definitely want to stay on track with the voice acting stuff. This is another voice actor that kind of bugged me, but you wouldn't think it would have bugged me. Was if I forget his name, he was the leader of the Death Watch.
Previously,
and it was voiced by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau's voice did not match that character at all.
That was Jon Favreau. I didn't know that.
Did I just teach you something? Okay.
I had no idea.
Jon Favreau. Voice character. And because I looked it up, I was like, well, I didn't even have to look it up because I knew that was Jon Favreau. The way he speaks, I was like, that's Jon Favreau. But I double checked and I looked it up as I was watching. I'm like, okay, that is him. And his voice didn't really like match up with the character. I think it kind of threw me off a little bit when I was watching it. The character's cool. I do like the character itself. I just felt like they probably could have had maybe Jon Favreau voice somebody else. Maybe like a smaller role or something. But I get why they wanted him to do it. And maybe that was a little bit of foreshadowing because he played the leader of the Death Watch aka Mandalorians.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
I had no idea that was Jon Favreau. That clicks perfect for me. Now, I didn't know. I don't know if his voice bothered me, but it Pre-Vizsla wasn't one of my favorite characters overall. I thought he was fun.
That's probably the thing with you is the fact that you didn't even know it was him, so it wasn't distracting for you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's probably why. But for me, immediately as soon as you spoke, I'm like, oh, that's Jon Favreau, and it just fucked with me. It messed with me up a lot, and I was just like, they could have had somebody else because you could just it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I for a lot of the voices, I thought they worked. There were some characters that I detest from the prequels, and I detest in this show, Jar Jar Binks specifically, that I don't know who they did the voice for him in this, but he captured the annoying nature of that character very well. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but for me, I didn't enjoy that part of it. But one character that was introduced in this show that has become quite a fan favorite is Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Ahsoka Tano?
I like her character development 100%. I thought they did a phenomenal job with her. I thought it was really cool, dude. Just because she really did look up to Anakin as a brother. It wasn't like some like son daughter type of relationship which they usually always kind of go with. That's like the cliche, you know what I mean? But no, it felt like they were like brother and sister, dude.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see that because they were playful with each other. They were getting very attached to each other, and as a Jedi, you know, they kept pushing that lingo into your face, or that narrative that, hey, Jedi should never get
have
too
those kinds
attached.
Of attachments. Yeah.
You know, and they easily got attached. Like, it was cool, man. Like, I loved her character, and I'm super excited to see more of her.
Yeah. When she was first introduced, I know a lot of fans were kind of annoyed with her. Actually, they found her to be kind of whiny, too obnoxious. But she
annoying. She was ballsy. She took chances, but she also built a lot of that. She got a lot of that from Anakin too.
Well, but also at the very start,
the very beginning, yeah, she was. I can see why people would get annoyed by her, because I even was kind of like, I don't know, we'll see. I had that moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. But as I kept watching it, like, it's just I liked her character, and I just yeah.
For me, man, she went from being that annoying, pesky little sister kind of character to being arguably my favorite. One of my all-time, like, top 3 favorite Star Wars characters, period. She grew into such a strong character, making decisions for herself, some really tough ones, which this is kind of a big spoiler, but leaving the Jedi Order.
That was a huge moment, dude.
Yeah.
I thought that was really fucking cool. I didn't expect that. That caught me off guard.
Really?
I didn't know that was even coming at all. I never got that spoiled for me at all either. So that was a moment I was like, wait, what? I was like, really? And that was the end of season 6.
Yeah, I think that's how season 5 ended. I don't remember.
I want to say it's the end of season 6, because the end of season, or the beginning of season 7, not even in the beginning. See, that's the thing. Not even in the beginning.
No, that was the end of season 5 for sure, because then they did like a lost episodes season 6 thing, which had some of the other interesting episodes in there. But yeah, that was for sure the end of like the last big season before season 7 officially came out.
Gotcha. But and then she didn't really come back until 7, right?
Yeah, season 7.
Yeah. And which she doesn't really like. See, that's the thing. I don't want to make this so negative just yet, because I definitely want to tackle 1 through 6 first, because 7, I have some opinions about season 7. Yeah, some mean ones too.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shy about some of the parts of season 7 I didn't like.
But as far as like saying, you know, sticking with Osaka. How do you pronounce her name again?
Ahsoka.
I always say Osaka for some reason. Ahsoka. She's fucking badass, dude. She's such a badass, man. And I just love that they don't shove that at your face, like no female empowerment bullshit or anything. They don't need any of that to prove to you that she is a badass, and they wrote her in very perfectly, dude.
Oh yeah. And she made a lot of mistakes early on, and then she learned from them, which you could see throughout the show, until she was, in my opinion, worthy of being like a Jedi Knight. I mean, she was just stellar in skill, which is just great character growth. I mean, it was just really, really great to see. But yeah, that was a hard episode.
There was some really good character development with all the characters, dude.
Yeah.
Even Yoda. Yoda had some character development stuff in there too. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great, you know. We get to see Obi-Wan's character development in there. Yep. We even get to see his love interest, which I didn't have no knowledge of. And I thought that was really fucking cool that they gave him a love interest. And it was funny that, you know, Anakin was being playful with him, like, oh, so, you know, you got a thing, you know, like,
you're not Mr. Boy Scout, are you, Obi?
Yeah, because he always came off as that, like, oh, like straight, you know, to you know, to the book kind of guy. But yeah, it was good, man. Yeah, I'm glad they introduced something like that.
Yeah, she was a cool character too. Satine was her name. She was like the queen, or like, I don't know what you would call. I think it was queen of Mandalore. And she what's really interesting about her whole thing was that the Mandalorians are very violent people throughout all of Star Wars history. And then she's all like, we're going to be pacifists, which naturally would kind of cause strife about that. But she really believed in that. And it was a really good thing to play off of, I imagine, as a writer, to kind of be like, put a pacifist in a situation where they have to use violence of some sort. It was really cool. But yeah, I see what you're saying about all the character development. I think one of the main ones that benefited was the clones. They became characters in this show.
Oh yeah.
Because before the Clone Wars show, they were
actually one of my favorite episodes of that whole series that still sticks out to me is the I forget the name of the episode, but it's when they're doing their training, the group. It's in the very beginning of the season.
I think it's called Domino Squad. It's where they're having to pass or fail this test, and they're having to work together, and they're really butting heads.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I actually enjoyed that episode, and it had none of the Jedi in there, and I was totally okay with that. I was like, whoa, this episode really got me hooked.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit, I actually care about these guys. Like, I thought they were just gonna be like one-off characters that I just didn't really care about. I was like, where the hell is Anakin? Where's Ahsoka? Where is Obi-Wan? But like, it just like the clones had their had their own character development, which I thought was fucking great.
And the show does a really good job and a cool decision, which was kind of, I think, how it would naturally go. If everyone looked the same, you would lose yourself as a clone in that. And so they all like cut their hair differently, got tattoos, nicknamed themselves. They didn't go by their clone identification numbers. And they developed personalities that made them actually quite individual, which you wouldn't get just from watching like the prequel movies on their own. But having seen the Clone Wars show, that makes, whenever you get out of it into episode 3, a lot more heartbreaking, because you're like, these are real people and not just CGI guys in white suits shooting people. You know what I mean? So it's like, what a cool idea to make these clones all be the same but totally different at the same time. I thought that was really well done.
And I definitely want to acknowledge another character that I am very happy the direction that they decided to go with, because I was getting kind of tired of them just being like just the person that always got their ass kicked, which was Ventress.
Oh yeah,
she went from being a villain from the very beginning to being like an anti-hero.
Yeah, she did. She went full comic book anti-hero at the end there. Yeah.
And they even changed the look of her face, kind of like she looked different a bit. Like you can just tell she wasn't like ruled by evil anymore. You know, she didn't have so much hate. She just kind of just did her own thing, and I thought it was really fucking cool. And I like that. I really like that about her. She had her moments where she saved a couple people, and I thought was very badass. And we got to see her in Obi-Wan kick ass, and
that was really cool.
That was epic, dude. And not only that, they had an epic moment of where Obi-Wan got to wield a red lightsaber for the first time, and he said, "Red's not my color." And I thought that was a really cool, like, nice little dialogue exchange that they had with each other.
For sure, I agree 100%, man. Like, there's very few characters that this show touched or created that over the course of the series didn't evolve and become better for it. I can't really think of one. I know one of the characters we briefly touched on before we started recording is a bounty hunter that wears a really cool cowboy hat, and his name, I believe, is Cad Bane. And
Cad Bane.
What a cool character is that guy,
dude. And it's crazy to me is that I want to see a live action version of it, man.
Oh yeah, me too.
Really do. And he would fit so perfect in the world of Mandalorian, dude.
Yeah.
So perfect. And I hope he comes back as like an actual main villain of that show or some way. I think it'd be really fucking cool. They don't have to introduce him till season 3 or 4 or whatever. I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. But as long as we get a live action version of Cad Bane, because I like his character. I like how he just kind of works for himself, and he's all about the money. Yep. And this dude is a savage, man. He even takes a job about like kidnapping kids, and I was like, whoa, what do we do? What do we watch?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Wild, man. He's like killing people. He's kidnapping kids. I'm like, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
He's like full blown villain, and all he cared about was that he got paid. That was his motive. Is that all he cared about was that he got his money. That was his credit.
Yeah, he was a character that instantly looked iconic from the moment you laid eyes on him. Yeah. He was like, I like it a lot. It was just very, very cool as a silhouette. And one other thing too is that he took pretty much no back talk from anyone. Like he would dish it right back. Even Palpatine was on a hologram with him, and he's like, "It's gonna cost you like triple." Like he wasn't even concerned. It was so cool as a character. But now I want to say this though. I want to say those first 6 seasons of the show are by no means perfect. I have issues with them. There's a lot of episodes in there that are very much oriented to kids or filler or kind of.
There's so much fucking filler, dude. I can't just praise the show for being a perfect show, because it's not. There is a lot of filler, and there's a lot of episodes where it was very boring.
Yeah.
It was very snooze, man. I can't even think about like an episode that stuck out to me that was a snooze fest, but there's a lot of just filler and just nonsense, man, that I just didn't care for.
Yeah. I would say one example would be maybe the I can't remember the name of the ship. It's a ship that like shoots out a disc of electricity out into space. It's this whole arc about this ship. While cool-ish, if you're really into it, it's not the most exhilarating series of episodes out there. And then there's one that's really kind of fascinating for me as a General Grievous fan that in hindsight isn't the best.
Which, by the way, I never really cared for General Grievous.
Really? Okay.
Even in the show, I just didn't give a shit about him. Like I didn't care. No, I didn't care. Like for any moment of General, he's cool looking in the live action adaptation of Clone Wars. I thought he was cool looking as fuck, especially when he does the whole twirling of the lightsabers, spinning. I thought that was sick, but overall, like I don't think he's that interesting, and he gets. A lot of the times in the show, he gets kind of like bullied.
A little bit, yeah.
By everyone. So it's just kind of like whatever. He
is very much the one villain of the show that I feel like it falls victim to this more than most, which is that Saturday morning cartoon villain trope of I'll get you next time, heroes, and then runs away.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's definitely a fault of. I don't know if it's the character of the show or the situation, but there's something in there that doesn't quite work for me. But I did find it interesting that the show honored the fact that Anakin and Grievous never meet until they meet in episode 3. They never came face to face at all, which I appreciated because they insult each other somewhat when they first see each other, which is kind of cool. But yeah, man, no, I think for the most part, it's a show that's pretty groundbreaking, both for the technology of the time. It pioneered a lot of that CGI kind of refined animation. And also it really did a good job of expanding the gap between episode 2 and 3 to help give context to how they went from Obi-Wan and Anakin specifically of like Master Padawan where they don't quite get along to, as Obi-Wan puts it in episode 4, he was a dear friend and a great pilot and all this other stuff. You actually see them become a lot closer throughout the series, which was very, very fascinating to me. So I don't know. Do we want to say anything on season 7 yet, or do you want to just specifically talk?
Yeah, we can get into it very soon here. But I definitely want to acknowledge some stuff here real quick before we move on to that. I want to talk about Boba. Because I liked Boba Fett's
return.
Yeah, his return, the way they introduced him, the first episode, when he first comes back, we know him as Lucky, not as Boba. And but you can just tell. I'm like, oh, it's Boba Fett, dude. And his motive is pretty much to kill Mace Windu. He wants that motive because he saw him behead his father which was Jango Fett, and he attempts to freaking bomb him, dude.
Yeah.
Blow him up. I'm like,
yeah.
What the fuck?
He's a little terrorist. Like he goes all out.
So we see him for like at least 3 episodes. He has like an arc of where he's just actively trying to kill Mace Windu. And which, by the way, goes into one of my favorite episodes, which is super random, but for some reason sticks out with me.
Okay.
Is the episode where Mace Windu and Anakin are pinned. They're trapped in between like all this rubble. And so it's R2's job to try and get help or whatever, but he's playing Home Alone and he's trying to keep back Boba Fett and 2 other bounty hunters that are with him. And he's just like throwing trash at them or just setting up booby traps. I don't know, for some reason, I enjoyed the hell out of that episode. I'm like, dude, this is like Home Alone, but with R2. Yeah. And it just makes it's like I just love R2 so much. And that episode just added more love to him. I was like, dude, this is great, man. And because at the beginning of the episode, you see that like Mace Windu tells him or tells Anakin, like, why do you put so much trust into that droid? He's like, oh, he has character, and or whatever. He's special. And he tells him, well, you should have put too much trust into a droid. Da-da-da. Like he's kind of like an asshole towards like, yeah. And at the end, you finally see Mace Windu give praise to R2 and tells him, I can see why he gives you a lot of trust.
Yeah,
I thought it was really cool
because freaking R2 was flying around in a ship. I mean, he was going toe to toe with these guys. He outsmarted Boba Fett and like dodged a shot. It was really well done. It was really cool.
I don't know. I just really enjoyed that episode so much. But I also enjoyed the fact that they brought back Boba Fett. And his motive was definitely to get revenge. And then later on, we don't get to see him for like a few more episodes, maybe a season. We see him get introduced again in prison. He's like in prison with a whole bunch of other bounty hunters, with Bosk and a couple other people there. And then he was a teenager at that point already, or maybe like
he's growing older.
Up. Yeah, he was growing up. I was like, oh, cool. We get to see teenage Boba. He's like bald and everything. I was like, this is pretty nuts. He only had like a couple moments here and there, but we never get to see him fully clothed yet, because I think during this point he was either just a kid or just a teenager. He wasn't like full on the Boba Fett that we know, but it was really nice to see him in there. And still his motive is just to try and bring down Mace Windu or whatever. But I was cool. I definitely wanted to acknowledge that Boba Fett is in there, and they did a really cool job with him. Another one was for me was I love how they touched on other force sensitive children, but that dealt with different kinds of race. Like I've never seen like a Wookiee force sensitive.
Oh yeah.
And there was a Wookiee that was force sensitive, and I thought that was really neat. I was like, whoa, there was a Gungan, there was like all these different kinds of races that were force sensitive. They weren't just like human, you know what I mean? Because they only showed the human ones
in the movies. Well, pretty much. I mean, they have this whole like elaborate Jedi council that has like this really cool bunch of diverse cast of aliens, but then it's only really the human Jedi who go out.
They're all just like there wasn't diverse. Is what I'm trying to say. But in the show, they showed like a nice diverse different kinds of race, and I was like, oh, that was really cool. And the one that caught my eye was the Wookiee. I was like, oh, I've never seen a force sensitive Wookiee. Which, by the way, another surprise moment. We don't get too much of him, but Chewie is in there.
Yes, he is.
He's in the series, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh my god, it's Chewbacca.
Yep, he shows up. Dude, there was a lot of content in this series, and I think a lot of the little Easter eggs, a lot of the detail that they poured into it really, really enriches it to a point that it's very much I think a now kind of a staple of the whole prequel era and understanding it to its fullest. I think it's really, really well done. I know that the episode you talked about, the Wookiee one, they I think it's like, I called it the Children of the Force arc or something like that. It's where they show how they get their kyber crystals and all this other stuff. And that was something as like a really young kid I would have loved to see, of like everyone who loves Harry Potter. It's like, oh, I can't wait till I get my letter and I get the wand. Me, I would have been like, dude, I can't wait to go to get my custom, lightsaber made and all this other stuff. So it was very cool for a geek.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was really nice. One last thing before we get into season 7 related stuff was give me a second here. I'm trying to I have notes, by the way, because there's like different stuff that I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah.
The dark saber related stuff.
Okay.
I thought that was neat the way they showed it, because it just kind of just out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You see, a Mandalorian have it. We're like, wait, what the hell is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously not the first time I saw it, because the first time I saw it was in the Mandalorian show.
Right.
And that got me interested in knowing the history behind the darksaber, and that kind of got me interested to watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
To be completely honest with you, so I was like, "Whoa, this is really cool."
Yep.
No one really acknowledges the fact that it's a darksaber, dude. Like, it doesn't stand out to Obi-Wan at all. Like, to say something about that, or it's just
I believe when Pre Vizsla first kind of shows up with it, trying to really intimidate Obi-Wan, he's all like, "This was stolen from your Jedi temple," and blah 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 blah. And Obi-Wan's like, "Oh shit." But other than that, he doesn't really mention it at all. Which you do learn more about that when you watch Rebels. Say what now?
It's very unique looking.
That's why. For sure. But you definitely learn a lot more about the darksaber when you watch Rebels as well. Okay. That's actually a big part of that show. I won't say why, but
I would think so, because at one point you see that Darth Maul dethrones Jon Favreau's character, again I forget his name.
Pre
Vizsla. He dethrones him, and he takes the darksaber, and then that's the last time we see the darksaber is in Maul's hands, is in his possession. But we then get Darth Maul into season 7, and he doesn't have the darksaber anymore. Yeah.
So there's actually a bit of a gap between season 6, where Clone Wars left off, and season 7. There's like a 2-year gap, and in that gap, some story arcs that they scrapped for Clone Wars occur, as well as I believe there's a book that came out not too long ago of Darth Maul and what he went through from where we last saw him all the way up through to season 7. That kind of explains where some of those things went and how it all went down, I believe, including the darksaber. So that's kind of interesting if you want to read it, or you can just look it up online or whatever. But no, I agree, man. The darksaber was really cool. It's got like a weird sound to it as well. It's not like a normal saber. It's just really, really cool.
It looks straight up more like a regular just sword, you know, while the other lightsabers are like, I don't know. I really liked it. But overall, between, seasons 1 through 6, really enjoyed it, even though, like, my opinions, there was a lot of filler related stuff. But I do got to give it credit, because at one point when I was watching this show, I was telling Tim in the very beginning that I was like, dude, I don't know if I can get through this because it's very childish.
Yeah.
But it turns around on me, dude, and it catches me by surprise. By the time they introduce Cad Bane, I feel like that's when the show takes a turn in terms of being more serious and more darker tone, because people start to die. More people start to die, not just drones or robots or whatever, but actual like Jedi and other characters start to die, and kids are getting kidnapped, and it's just like what the fuck, like where did this come from? You know, it actually gets really dark, and it reminds me more of like the movies and the shows, and I like, it felt more like an anime.
Sure, yeah, I can see that.
Than an actual, just like a kid's cartoon. Because in the beginning, it did feel like a straight up kid's cartoon, and it was a little rough. I don't think I could have sat through the entire series if it was just going to be like that. But no, it definitely gets a lot better, and I'm just like, oh, yes, thank God. And it was good. So I enjoyed, seasons 1 through 6. I think as a whole series itself, like that, just that portion, because I feel like season 7 needs to be talked about on its own.
All right.
like 1 through 6, I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to give it a rating, and I want to say it's a 4 out of 5.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
So I'm gonna have to say 4 out of 5 for me. That's gonna be buttered for sure.
Wow. I didn't expect. I'm going to be honest, because you had told me that it was hard for you to get through at the beginning. I was like, oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
He's probably going to give it a 3. But I was like, it's going to be what it is. A 4, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm not going to give it a perfect 5 either. It's definitely got its faults.
It's because of the fillers episodes that just were kind of pointless. But they I got to remember that this was a morning cartoon show for a lot of kids and other, so
yep.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
I agree, man. 4 out of 5 for 1 through 6 for sure. Season 7, which was only 12 episodes, there was a gap of time, not even just in the meta or like the lore of the series. There was a massive gap between season I think it was like 2014 when the last season came out of season 6, the last time we ever saw any of it, all the way until now. It's 2020 when we finally got the 7th season. So there was 6 years of people who grew up with it to rewatch continually and everything like that, and expectations to get like to the roof. And so season 7, when it got announced, dude, that I was getting goosebumps because I was like, oh, we're getting more? What? This is awesome. I can't wait.
I feel like we're probably going to get like actual closure.
Yeah.
To see like most of these characters are going to go. And it was just like, all right, sweet, because I'll be honest with you, watching, seasons 1 through 6 and the way it ended and stuff, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get into season 7. I was really excited to let you know that I was pumped. I can't wait to hopefully get some closure with certain characters, where they're at. And all this stuff. You want to get into it?
Well, okay. So there's 12 episodes total in season 7. And they came out weekly, which was infuriating for someone who wants to just binge it. It was really hard to just wait every week, but I kind of got, used to that because of Mandalorian. But, and those 12 episodes were cut down into 3 4-episode arcs. And so I want to talk about those 3 arcs specifically, since we're talking about season 7 now, and what our thoughts for each of them were, because I feel like it changes for me with each arc that we're talking about, how I feel about as we went through season 7.
You want to go through it like that? Okay.
If you're cool with that.
That's totally fine. If that's the way you want to do it. But let's go ahead and just let's get into it.
So the first 4 episodes, I would call like the Bad Batch arc, where it's dealing with these clones. They call themselves the Bad Batch, and basically they are genetic mutation, or like they've gone wrong. Kind of like in the other seasons of Clone Wars, there was this character called Clone 99, where he was kind of had like a hunchback character, and he was kind of deformed, and they made him do maintenance on Camino and stuff like that. He ended up having like a heroic kind of tragic death in the series. And so in Bad Batch, they call themselves Clone Trooper Group 99, I think, to honor him. But they're all kind of unique. They all have their specialties. There's like a sort of sniper Hawkeye guy who can shoot different targets, like super duper accurate. There's like this berserker dude who calls himself Crusher, who can just like run through and beat up anything, but he's scared of heights for some reason. Then you have like the super geeky tech dude who can hack into everything. And then you have this other dude who I think his main thing is that he can track things. I think he wears like a bandana. But it's an interesting arc. I don't know if that was the one I wanted to start the season off with, to be honest, because it felt very like, okay, this is interesting. Not necessarily what I really wanted to see, but all right, I'm down if we have more for it. What did you think when you were starting to get into it?
Be honest with you, dude, I fucking hated those 4 episodes, and the show should have started on episode 5, where we catch up to see where Ahsoka is.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's when we finally get to see her, which is really strange to me. Is that we don't get Ahsoka till episode 5.
Right.
I'm like,
of a 12 episode season, we don't get her till episode 5.
What? Like what?
Yeah.
And
I was shocked too.
Very boring, man. It was very.
Oh, that second arc, or that first arc?
No. Let me be honest with you, man. I actually didn't like the entire series until episode 10.
So the third arc, the last 4. Is that 9, 10, 11, 12? So episode 9, you mean?
No, I mean episode 10.
Really?
Because episode 10, 12 are like, that's, in my opinion, I feel like that's when we get Clone Wars for me. That's when we get the story of, you know, we get caught up in this this thing with Ahsoka and Anakin. They finally get to, you know, having a dialogue exchange with each other.
Yeah, that starts with episode 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, you're right.
So real quick before we even get into that, though,
yeah.
Bad Batch overall I thought was fun, but I wanted to see something else if we had such few episodes. I thought it was kind of fun. It had its moments. I liked seeing Anakin start to be an edgy motherfucker whenever he was like, hey, spider dude, I'm going to cut your arms off and I'll kill you. And you get to see Mace kind of come down and try and like taunt the droids, and then he's going to make a sacrifice play. That was kind of cool, but I think it should have been maybe 2 episodes, like just 2 episodes, not 4. Just make it a 2-episode quickie. Fine. If you're going to do it at all.
Yeah, they extended that way too long. That was weird.
Yeah. The next episode's arc, which was where Ahsoka first came in and had to do with I think it's the Martez sisters, or I think that's what they were called.
Yeah. Which is
woof. I hated that.
Boring, man.
Yeah, I was like, there's literally an episode in that where they're in jail at the start. They go like this whole cartoonish run around to get back in jail, and nothing was accomplished.
The only thing that was very pleasing to me was the animation. Definitely like improved.
Oh yeah. Season 7 animation was top notch.
It was pretty damn cool. It was just, yeah, man, it was just rough, dude. I really didn't give a shit about that. I just didn't get the point of those characters at all, personally. But I feel like the reason why they wanted to introduce those characters is because they might have a purpose later on. Which
I haven't seen them since. Like,
yeah, no, which I mean a purpose later on in terms of like I have a theory. Okay. I have a theory in regards to like
new content that's coming out.
Yeah, new content that's coming out. Which if you guys would like to hear my theory, I will dive into that. Stay tuned for the podcast.
Okay.
I will talk about that. But I have a theory about those specific characters because I feel like they might eventually make a return.
Okay. I didn't think about that.
As I see why they got maybe introduced. And then there was like little bits of dialogue that I'm like, they're foreshadowing a little bit there. I'm like, okay. But other than that, like I didn't like that whole.
Yeah, it's that arc was rough for me, man. Like I have no problem with the sisters and what their story is, but again, I was like, why is this what we're focusing on if we have so few episodes? Like, why not show Ahsoka on her own struggling, or like going through Coruscant, or try and go to a different planet? Like, it just seemed very like an unnecessary thing. I mean, it was cool to see Kessel, like the planet Kessel, because if you've seen the Solo movie, they show Kessel and the spice mines of Kessel, and that's the whole like Han Solo did the Kessel Run and 12 parsecs or whatever. Like it's all kind of cool. And so to have that kind of, if you're watching it in chronological, a seed planted of what Kessel is for them to kind of come back to, that was kind of cool. But again, man, I just was like, why are we wasting our time with this? And then came episodes 9 through 12. And that changed the game for me. That, for me, this final arc redeemed and kind of excused the other 2 arcs in the season for me.
For you, okay.
Yeah.
I respect I respect that for sure. I get that. You know, for me, it didn't. I personally thought it was like, fuck, this season dropped the ball.
Oh yeah,
it really did.
Okay,
yeah, it really did. I mean, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, episode 11 and 10, or 10 and 11, were solid. Like from beginning to end, I'm like, ooh, the way it ends and the way it starts, it's just like, yes, you know. Like even the last episode didn't really do it for me.
How? Okay, that one I'm gonna what?
Didn't do it for me.
Whoa, dude, what? It's crazy, dude. I lost my shit with all 4 of those episodes, and I borderline teared up with the final shot. Like I was like, what? That's crazy to me, Jimmy. I can't believe.
I guess it's probably because I really wanted to see Anakin as Darth Vader have that exchange with Ahsoka and tell her, like, you know, either join me or whatever, or, you know, whatever. But we never get that. We never get to see them have a conversation ever again. She just has that moment of like, what's happened to Anakin? You know, something just happened. And it's just kind of thrown away. Because to me, like I explained to you, I love the fact that they have a brother and sister, and he even refers to Anakin as a brother, because the twins ask her, "Oh, where'd you learn how to fight like that?" My older brother taught me.
Yeah,
and I just, dude, that line right there got me, because I was just like, yes, you know, like we have this whole character development between them two, have this chemistry with each other build up, and we don't even get that moment, dude. And that's what really kind of just, it was whatever's. Let's be honest here. Well, visually, I will give it to it. Visually, it was amazing, dude. The shots, even with her just standing there with the cloak, I liked it. Just little images here and there, and I thought it was neat, right? But it was like a finale. Like it just didn't feel like a finale. It just felt like another episode was missing, in my opinion. Like personally, like as a whole, I'm gonna let you speak in a moment. Okay. It just felt like the entire season was very rushed. Okay, it was very rushed.
Okay. I desperately do not want anyone, including myself, to spoil this for you, Jimmy. Okay? So I will say this as spoiler-free as I can. That lack of seeing each other between Anakin and Ahsoka is coming if you watch Rebels.
Okay.
So that hole that you have about them not confronting that, it will be filled if you see that part of Rebels. But I see it would be disappointing if you don't know that coming up 100%. I agree with that. It would be like, oh, they don't meet. So I could totally see where you're coming from with that.
It's kind of weird though that I have to watch a different series to actually get that moment. Do you understand how weird that sounds?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because of that horrible gap between 2014 and 2020 is when Rebels was made. So it's like kind of awkward that happened, but
it is, right? And it feels kind of dumb too, in my opinion. Me personally, like from someone that is like, granted, for people that I'm like in the minority here, where it's coming from people that probably wasn't going to give a chance because they're more into the live action related stuff.
Yeah.
And now that I got into it, and I was just like, you know, like I wanted that moment in Clone Wars. That means that I have to go back to a different series.
You can almost watch, I think there's certain clips that Disney's released themselves on YouTube. If you really don't want to watch the entirety of Rebels, you can actually see those moments for yourself from that, which I can leave a link to those videos in the description of this video as well, and I can give it to you so that you can at least see that without having to necessarily invest in Rebels. But speaking on the final arc, man, one of my favorite things about it, the reason I am so thrilled with it, and a few people know this about me, is I do custom like home edits, not for distribution or anything like that, not for profit, not for malicious intent. It's just literally for my own viewing pleasure. I like to make hypercuts, supercuts, or different versions of things. And so this last 4-episode arc of Clone Wars is succinct and happening pretty much at the same time as Revenge of the Sith. And there's like little moments in each episode that help pinpoint, okay, by this point, this has happened. By this point, this has happened. This is like a literal scene, but extended from the movie. And those things were extremely helpful and satisfying to see from this weird nerd that I am of wanting to kind of piece it together myself and make a big final product. And I think that's really skewed that final 4 episodes so much for me to be able to love it as much as I did. If I don't know or don't even take Revenge of the Sith into consideration, completely out of consideration, I just look at those 4 episodes, they are quite quickly paced. I agree. They have moments where they take their time, but it does kind of just like boom, bam, 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 stuff's happening. It's crazy. And then, oh no, this is the situation we're having. And then wham.
And this was supposed to be the end, right? This is supposed to be closure.
Yes.
The series finale.
This is the finale of Clone Wars. Yes.
See, that's the issue that I have with it, man. Coming from me, coming from someone that's only just started watching Clone Wars and watch season 7, which I feel like other people might be, might relate to me that are barely going to get into it or haven't seen it, because I don't know, man. Like I don't like the fact that we never really got that moment. Like you said, you did technically, did, but we don't get it in Clone Wars, right. And that's kind of an issue that I feel like is kind of fucked up in writing. You understand? See, because I hate to compare it to Mandalorian because this is a different show, right?
Sure.
But the beautiful thing I just want to take this one little thing.
Okay.
The beautiful thing about Mandalorian is that I've noticed that a lot of people that have never ever watched Star Wars before watched the Mandalorian show and they fell in love with it because they didn't feel so like out of place, or they didn't feel like, oh, I need to go watch these movies to get this story. Do you understand what I'm saying? It acts
on its own. It works on its own as far as...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the way you're telling me, and I respect it 100%, and especially coming from the OGs, because you come from the OG generation of the Clone Wars, meaning that you were there when it was airing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That you've been watching it since then. It's like it's pleasing for you guys. But coming from somebody that has never watched it and only watched the Clone Wars,
sprinted through it real quick, marathon pace,
it doesn't make any sense to me why they would do that. They should have, especially with that whole gap there, they should have either implemented maybe a shorter version of that or something in there.
Yeah. I almost feel like what would have been really cool, for your point, and also just because I'm a greedy guy and I like more content, would be to shrink those 2 arcs before this one into maybe like 2 episodes, 40-minute arcs, and then take the rest of that time and expand this final one into something huge.
Yeah, because I feel like this whole, like, I think of Clone Wars, the series, as its own series, and the other, what's the other one called?
Rebels?
Yeah, Rebels as its own thing. You get what I'm saying?
Sure, I guess. I mean, they're very connected. They're extremely connected.
Yeah, right. But I'm just saying, like, I don't like. I see it as a spin-off, not as like a like the series of Clone Wars, which kind of like it leaves me very disappointed more, probably because I don't get closure for Cad Bane. Where the fuck happened to Cad Bane? Like, what's going on with this character? I don't get closure for Ventress. What happened to Ventress? Like, she was like a huge thing from the beginning of the series till, like, what happened to her? Like, she's never mentioned ever again. So is Cad Bane's, whatever. Like, all these great characters that I fell in love with seasons 1 through 6 are not talked about at all in season 7.
Sadly,
and not only that time that they wasted of 4 episodes of some dumbass, what I'm talking, like these characters that no one really gave a shit about.
Yeah,
and maybe some people out there probably did or whatever, but me personally, I just didn't give a shit about. They wasted all that time just just a spiller. They use that as spiller, and then we finally get like a good moment because now we get caught up with Ahsoka. Like, oh my gosh, she's like, here we go. This is where Clone Wars start.
Those two concerns you have about Ventress and Cad Bane, those are arcs that they actually had written for Clone Wars. But a real quick backstory for those who are still listening and confused about the whole why was there a gap and everything of when they made it. I believe it was 2014. It was shortly after Disney acquired the rights to Star Wars as a whole, Lucasfilm. They didn't like that Clone Wars was coming out on Cartoon Network. So they said, axe it, it's done right there. And that was at the end of season 5, right? And so they had all of these huge arcs planned for all these characters to end and tie into episode 3 that now they couldn't do. Then I believe it was Netflix who was I think licensing the rights to show Clone Wars on their platform, worked with Disney and Star Wars to release what it was unofficially called Season 6, The Lost Missions, which is a handful of those arcs, not all of them by any means, into a kind of a season, which kind of summed up that. And then finally in 2020, we get this season. There's still like 3 or 4 really big arcs that just are not there. That they wrote for these characters, including Asajj Ventress, including Cad Bane. The Cad Bane one, from my knowledge, I don't know what happens in it. It's Cad Bane versus Boba Fett. Why didn't we see that in this season? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Nice.
That's really cool. And there's a few different ones of one like Anakin and Obi-Wan on Utapau Anakin processing Ahsoka leaving. And like dealing with the turmoil he has of her being gone. Like certain arcs like that, which are really, really cool, I would have preferred to have seen instead of those first 2, personally. Because I feel like what you feel like, if we don't really get a conclusion to those really cool characters otherwise.
And like the thing was that, well, Cad Bane wasn't like a super main like character, like I would say like kind of like Ventress was, because Ventress was kind of like, dude, that was, in my opinion, that was like the Darth Maul of Clone Wars. You get what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Where it was that one villain that they just kept running into, and she was giving them trouble, whatever. You know what I mean? So like, it would have been nice to finally get some closure with her, or whatever. At least within the Clone Wars series, like either doesn't necessarily have to be closure, but we get to see like if she goes off somewhere, then she goes off somewhere, and then that just means that they can bring her back and anything else. Which I have theories about that too, about her character. Same thing with Cad Bane, you know, like I just something. But we don't, man. That's the thing, is that I can't see season 7 as a series finale. That's the fucking issue. I feel so unsatisfied, dude. I really do. Oh. I feel like it was whatever's. Which is why I told Tim that I wanted to review season 7 as its own thing,
right?
Because how like separate it feels until the last 4 or 3 episodes of the series, that kind of feels more connected in line with, you know, seasons 1 through 6.
Okay, I agree. I like that we did that. I'm ready to talk about like a score for this, because I have like a weird way of thinking about it, but I want to hear what you give it first.
and by the way, like I'm not trying to change your opinion. You know, if you want to give it a high score, if you feel like it empowered you or it made you feel some type of way emotionally, whatever, I'm not trying to take you away from that. And if you feel that same moment, like at the end of the season, you know, you still feel like that, then go with it, dude. Like certainly go.
I'm not changing my opinion. I'm going to just be weird how I talk about it.
But just me personally, dude, since without watching Rebels or anything else, just sticking to this, I feel like they should have done the right thing for people like me that don't know this kind of stuff, is to like implement like some kind of dialogue in there of what happened to this, or what, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just empty pages there that I'm just like, what the fuck? that left me confused by the end of the series, and I'm just kind of dissatisfied. So me personally, I have to give it a 2, dude.
Wow, dude. Wow. Okay, stale.
I give it a 2 out of 5. And I'm being generous because the last 3 episodes, or technically episode 10 and 11 for me, were like fucking good quality, dude. And
Wow.
I love, there's certain moments that I really love that I can't give it a 3, but the main part that I really enjoyed was Darth Maul explaining to Ahsoka that this is what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know how it's going to happen, but this is what's going to happen. And I like that moment is because he kind of just already knew. But that's the best thing we get out of the whole series. Or not the series, the season, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's it. I have to give it a 2 out of 5. And I'm like, wow, that's solid, dude. Can't get anything lower than that, and I can't give it anything higher than that. I can't. Wow. I really can't.
See that okay. That's wow. All right. Okay. Yeah, so for me, if I'm looking at season 7 as a whole, with a okay-ish arc first up, a burnt as hell arc second up, and then for me, a god tier 4-episode arc at the end, that means it's a 4 out of 5. But I almost don't even want to watch anything but that final arc, in which case that is a golden bucket for me. The final 4 episodes of this, given my knowledge of everything else on the whole, man, that just did something else for me. I thought that the music was fan-fucking-tastic. The visuals, some of the action choreography, the pacing of it all, the heartbreak of seeing these clones who have Ahsoka's colors painted on their helmets, then turning their backs immediately because they can't help it onto Ahsoka and trying to kill her, and then Rex. Like, the whole thing was crazy good for me. And then the final shots,
the development of Rex, by the way, like that. Yeah. I love the fact that they stuck with that, and that leaves me very happy and pleased to hopefully see Rex again eventually, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
But that's fine. Yes, go ahead.
But yeah, no, I adored how it all kind of handed off as a long-term fan of everything, and seeing Rebels all the way through already before this, and just kind of recently kind of going through a collaboration of making everything kind of cohesive in my mind of what's chronological and canon and everything. This was just a chef's kiss for me of those 4-episode arcs. So that's kind of why I said I was going to rate it kind of weird, just because it's such a drastic difference of quality. And I agree with you of why that kind of tampers the whole thing. But for me, it's a 4 out of 5, buttered consistently through seasons 1 through 7. I have to give the whole thing as a whole. It's a 4 out of 5 for me in total. Okay.
We're going 1 through 7. I'm still gonna stick with 4 out of 5. Like, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna bring it down. But if you're just gonna rate, like, give me a rating between episode 1 through 12 of season 7, what would you rate it? Honestly,
4, because of how much I adored the last 4 episodes.
Okay, all right, I respect that.
Yeah, for me, that's why I said it saved it for me, and on the end there, if we hadn't gotten that, dude, I'd be right with you, probably going all the way to burnt, because I would not be a happy camper.
Like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that certain pages, you've read the pages that are not there for us people, like as in the people that are just barely getting into just
like the expanded content of Star Wars. Yeah.
The lore behind, those pages that should be there that are not there. But like, hey, if you want those pages, you have to read this book.
God, I get how that's annoying. Yeah.
How that's annoying for me and other viewers and stuff like that, which makes, I hate to bring it up again, but I'm sorry. It's just an example of Mandalorian, of just that it did it so well to the point where it introduced so much new fans to the series. And I'm not a person that's like, oh, don't touch my fandom. This is my series. Like, get all these people way.
That's,
you know what I mean?
Another topic entirely. Like gatekeepers.
Yeah, I am all about bringing in more fans to the series,
Absolutely.
And I think that's where they did a phenomenal job with that. But they just dropped the ball so much with season 7, in my opinion, that I had to give it the score that I did.
I can respect it.
But I do see your point of view on why you're giving it such a high score, so it's totally understandable. I get it.
It's fascinating. Almost it's like a case study for me of like someone who's brand new versus someone who's so stupidly steeped into it. There's no hope that he's ever not going to be fascinated with it. So like it's very.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to like really give you my point of view of where I came from and where I'm looking at things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, but I'm also I acknowledge the fact that the OGs, like yourself, that have been watching the series since it was airing on television, and not like a newbie like me just barely started watching it because of a fucking a lightsaber that was introduced to the Mandalorian, which I had no knowledge of. Really surprised by because me personally, I've always been about the live action stuff. Like I've been watching Star Wars since I was a kid. I watched a lot of these when they re-showed them in movie theaters. And my dad went to go watch the original Star Wars movie when he was a young adult, and it's just like so I've always been a big fan of Star Wars. I just like animated stuff. I just kind of like, it's always been like whatever to me, but I'm very, very happy that I did watch this, and I'm not disappointed in that. It was a fun experience. I really did. And not only that, but I actually grew love for new characters that I didn't think I really cared for or wanted.
Wow.
So it was nice, and now I'm excited because I want some of these characters to make a comeback,
make appearances,
for movies and stuff like that. I want people to like, like I said, I'm not a gatekeeper, so I'm open here with open arms. I want people to see why I like these characters so much, and why I think they would like them too.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions for you before we wrap this thing up here then. First question. Do you think the Clone Wars series, if you had a problem with the prequels, do you think the Clone Wars series helps to redeem or legitimize the prequels?
No, I think it did a phenomenal job.
So you do?
I think it redeemed it for sure, man.
Cool.
I think it adds a lot of context and like storytelling that they can't fit in some of these films, which I've acknowledged, and I've said this multiple times on my live streams, that I feel like a lot of these movies that are based off of video games, so it's just an example, or books or whatever, are so bad because they can't tell the story that they want to tell within 2 hours.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the issue with some of these Star Wars movies. Some is that the fact that there's so much missing context and like, storytelling that they can't tell because they just have to cut so much shit out. Yeah. And with this, actually fills all that story, man, and it's so much fucking better. Like it makes you appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's really cool, dude. I acknowledge and I love the fact that Dave Filoni is, right now he's now, taking care of The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau.
Yeah, and
I have so much more appreciation and love for that dude now because I just heard, I'm like, oh cool, he's from the Clone Wars series. He did that, but that was it, for me. But now that I see the story that he told and the characters that he introduced and all this stuff, fucking hats off goes to him, dude. It was great.
Okay. And then the second question, I think almost goes without asking at this point. Do you recommend Clone Wars to those who have been kind of turned off by maybe the childish nature or the animation style? Because I personally do.
Okay, so I have to give 2 points of views here.
Okay.
And like the same way that I told my point of view of the season 7 thing.
Okay.
Is that you have to go in knowing that the series was meant for children. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Like the series Clone Wars was meant for children. So in the beginning, it's a little rough to watch if you're not into cartoons like that, like Saturday morning cartoons, because the dialogue, or it's very cheesy at points. or certain episodes are very, very cheesy. But I promise you, if you stick it out, once you get up to a certain point, with certain characters start getting introduced, and it gets darker, and it feels like I don't want to use this as an example because this might be poor, but like the Batman animated series, that show was for kids.
Yeah, dude.
Dark. The way they told the story and certain things. So it kind of felt like that for me.
Absolutely.
Yes, kid show, but at times I was like, wait, is this really a kid show? Because
they went there.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap. They even show, beheadings, children getting kidnapped, and people dying. It was just like, what in the world is going on? People blowing up too.
People dying from being tortured too much. There's a Jedi who gets electrocuted from being tortured too much.
Man, it was just like nuts to me. People getting slapped, little kids, it's just everything. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I thought it was great. So I personally, yes, but just go into it knowing that at the beginning it might be a little rough for you, but I promise if you stick through it, you would really, really enjoy it. And I 100% recommend.
I do too. And I would say I would recommend that if you are going to check it out, it's all on Disney Plus. But also look up, you can just type in like Star Wars Clone Wars chronological. The top link on Google will be from Star Wars themselves, giving like what episodes to click on through Disney Plus in chronological order. And that helps you to see kind of how it actually is supposed to almost be seen, because otherwise it's a little shuffled deck of a viewing experience. And that may hinder whether you want to keep watching. But yeah, I agree, Jimmy. Wholeheartedly. I think it's worth a check out at least. So
one last thing before we end off here is that I do want to acknowledge the fact that I just lost my train of thought here. That goodness.
You had a mind blank.
Yeah, I totally I already knew what I was gonna say, and then I completely forgot. I think
Disney Plus or with chronological, or
I think was it. Never mind. It's fine. It'll probably come to me later on. Oh yeah, then never mind. I got it. Okay. It was basically the I think another reason you should watch it. Okay. Is some of these characters, which by the way, spoiler, if you want to go ahead and just end the video here, totally fine. Some of these characters have been announced to be in future projects. Indeed. So that gives you more of a reason to watch this, then please do. Because that's one of the main things that I'm happy about, is that I watched it, is because that now I know the history behind some of these characters, because I don't know how they're going to introduce these characters in this live action adaptation, or if they're even going to tell their backstory. So that's the thing.
Who knows?
You don't know. So hopefully they do. Hopefully they do, because then you are not going to be as upset as I was with season 7. Because then I'd be like, well, what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? So hopefully they do that pattern there with Mando, and they make you feel comfortable enough to be like, okay, I don't have to go back to watch that or whatever. Right. So that was pretty much my last thing. Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you were on Spotify, please feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to us if you want to know, and most of all, if you could please, in the comments below, let us know what you thought of Clone Wars, either as a whole, or if you were a huge fan of Season 7 or really, really disappointed or in between somewhere. Let us know, because I would love to hear other Star Wars nerds gush about or hate on Star Wars as a whole, because it's actually kind of really fun to watch it either way. But yeah, you can find us on Twitter individually, at Jimmy J Less, I believe, on Twitter, and at Mr. Hyrule for me, and then at What's Poppin' Pod on Twitter. Hit us up if there's anything that we may miss in our movie news talks or in our reviews, or you want us to check out, as always. But yeah, I've been Tim, and
I'm Jimmy, and thank you guys again for tuning in, listening to us. We really do appreciate the support as much as you guys have been giving us. And like Tim said, be sure to share it. Social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you feel like people might show interest. Tell your friends, your parents, your parents' friends. Yeah. Please, guys, get the word out for us, and we'll continue to keep shooting these episodes for you guys and these reviews. So thank you guys again, but we appreciate the love as always.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, guys. Peace.
Take it easy.